Oh geez, I don't need my ugly closet showing. I have to put a door back on there. I'm just testing the camera. Give me a second and I'll get rid of my ugly face here. There we go. Let's do this. Let's share this person instead of me, shall we? Okay. Move this way. Okay. All right, guys, sorry. I'm not great at this. Again, I don't have like a posh studio or anything. I should probably grab my glasses. Now, let's see, where am I? Is that good? Ish? Good-ish? Get myself in front of the computer here. Okay. Let's see. Can I do like a black and white? Do I have to... Let's make sure this is fixed. Hold please while I change the settings here. There we go. And we'll do this. There we go. Okay. And now you don't really need to see my ugly face. Okay. And I need to grab my glasses, so let me get up and go do that. Oh, please. Good boy, good girl. All right, guys, so I kind of didn't know where to start with this. And I do like to show my face just to say, hey, I'm alive. Here I am. Sorry, I had to grab my glasses. I need to be able to see. I try not to look at myself because I'm not an actress. And this is weird because it always has you like from the side, even if you're not from the side. So all that is sorted. Now, I had planned on talking about a couple things specifically, but I want to first kind of ease into things and kind of look at current events. And then we're going to go back a little bit, which is kind of what we do on this channel, to cover a couple of things that kind of, I think, tie these things together. And I just want to have a broader picture for people to kind of make proper assessment of. Okay, so and I don't want to be distracting people by like my background or like what's in my house or any of that. So okay, so I'm going to leave this page up that we have here right now, the Trump homepage, while I go over just a little bit of background and wait for people to either get the notification or not get the notification. Now, I've been kind of sickly only due to the cold weather and being in and out of it all the time. And everybody knows I have these problems. If you've been with me, cold weather is not conducive for my health. So please forgive, any lapses in memory or my voice, because I've been on heavy allergy medicine for about a month now, and I just want it to be over. So here we go. I wanted to get into a little bit about the deaf, blind, and dumb spirit. Now, why do I want to talk about that? Because the deaf, blind, and dumb spirit is something that greatly affected me. And because of that, I was not able to discern properly news stories, even my own life, my daily life. I was not making proper decisions. I was blinded. My vision was hazy. My psychic vision, if you will. And I know a lot of Christians don't like those words. And again, we can't be afraid of words. There's so many words in the English language that mean the same thing. So I'll just keep going. Hopefully we won't get too caught up on things like that. But the deaf, blind, and dumb spirit can make what people refer to, make people resemble quote unquote NPCs or background characters. They really just put you on autopilot when you have this deaf, blind, and dumb spirit. Now, when I say that, what do I mean by that to you? From Mark. It says, Jesus heals a boy possessed by a spirit. When they returned to the disciples, they saw a large crowd surrounding them, and some scribes were engaged in an argument with them. As soon as the people saw Jesus, they were overcome with awe and ran forward to greet him. He asked them, "What are you arguing about with them?" A man in the crowd answered him, "Teacher, I have brought you my son, who is possessed by a spirit that makes him unable to speak. Wherever it seizes him, it flings him to the ground, and he foams at the mouth, grinds his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive it out, but they were unable to do so." Hold, please. Now, there's a couple things you should notice here, is that we're talking about spiritual matters. They're very open in the fact that they believe he has a spirit demonizing him, but we are seeing physical manifestations of this, i.e., dis-ease or illness. I'm not a medical professional. Take no part of this as medical advice. All my disclaimers will be in the description box when the video is posted. So we see that the spirit is affecting him physically. So Jesus said to them in reply, "Oh, unbelieving generation, how much longer shall I remain with you? How much longer must I put up with you? Bring the boy to me." See, Jesus wasn't always nice. We're not required to be nice, right? Whatever it's going to take to wake somebody up. And plus, he's Jesus. I mean, but you get to that point. I mean, I'm in that point in my life. Now, again, I seek to do no harm to anyone else nor to myself. But as a parent, you get frustrated when your children aren't following your guidelines, and you know that you put those guidelines there to keep them safe or to make their lives effective, right? To make them successful and I don't mean monetarily. I mean successful as in prospering, love, joy, happiness, that type of thing. So Christ is, he does get frustrated with them. And sometimes you have to be stern with people, right? You have to be harsh. Sometimes being nice, being kind, being, loving someone to the cross, all of those are good things, right? But when you have someone you love, or you have someone endangering themselves or others with their negligence, sometimes harshness or shock is the only thing to bring them around. So when they brought the boy to him, the spirit saw him and immediately threw the child into convulsions. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the father, "How long has the boy been like this?" "From childhood," he replied. "It has often tried to kill him by throwing him into a fire or into water. If it is possible for you to do anything, have pity on us and help us." So this demon, this dis-ease, has been with this boy for his whole life, basically. All right. And the longer a thing like this is with you, the harder it is to detach from you, because it, like venom from Spider-Man, it becomes a part of you. It becomes a spiritual virus, if you will, the black goo, right? Like we see in Venom, it becomes harder to detach from you because you can't tell what part is you and what part is the attachment any longer. So he says, "If it is possible, all things are possible for one who has faith." Immediately the father of the child cried out, "I do believe, help my unbelief." And then Jesus says, "Deaf and mute spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." Shrieking and throwing the boy into convulsions, it came out of him. He lay there like a corpse, so that many remarked, "He is dead." We're almost done. Again, this is all connected. But Jesus, taking him by the hand, raised him, and he stood up. "Why were we not able to cast it out?" the disciples asked him privately. "This cannot be driven out except by prayer and by fasting," which was removed from the NIV in 2017. I know, because it was pretty much right when I had read that, they removed it. Again, a lot of my personal testimony has a lot to do with the public. I am not being dramatic here. I am defeating my enemy, our enemy, with the word of my testimony. And that includes explaining to you how I have seen God working in my life for many years, but especially for the last 6 years. And he asked me to be a witness to all that I saw, and I said that I would. So this is me being obedient. Every video is me trying to be obedient to God and showing him, or showing you guys, with the discernment, the new discernment he gave me. Now, how did God give me this new discernment? Well, it was because of this. It was right here, what we just read. That's what I did, right there. Doing that intermittently, constantly, as a practice, has helped me to improve my discipline mentally, spiritually, and physically. It's made me less angry. I don't have that I don't know that temper that some people have, and I associate it with high blood pressure, right? Sometimes you'll see somebody get red and sweaty right after they consume something, and they start having high blood pressure, meaning they get their temper gets riled up too. So again, the physical, what we consume, affects our spirit, and our spiritual condition is often manifested physically. So these things go hand in hand. Now, after I was able to do this, I was able to have discernment and read news articles and links with proper discernment. So I want to show you this tab again, and I want to ask you, do you see what I'm trying to show you here? What is here? Do you notice it? Do you see it? Oh, wow, it's different. Wow, it said Pence on my phone app still. Wow, that's crazy. Anyways, we're going to look at something real quick, and I want to show you, if I can, why it is, I believe, this Trump that we're dealing with now is not the same Trump from the first term. I do not believe that it is him. I would really like to sit and go over these images and dissect if this is AI, but I won't. I will save that. I just want to say that since 2019, now we see no events scheduled, right? Nothing going on really on this website of his official website, right? It still says Make America Great Again, 2024, right? Now let's go here. I want you to see what his promises are, allegedly, if I can get here. There we go. Okay, so these are all the things that he is saying he's going to do. These are all of his promises, right? Defending our freedom of speech, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our freedom of religion is number 7. I just want to put that out there that that's number 7. Okay. It is my firm belief that we have not seen the real Trump since 2019, and we probably have not seen his real family since then. I believe they tied his hands, figuratively speaking, at the end of his first administration with the influx of CV. And everybody forgets where Project Warp Speed came from, and that came from the 46th and now the 48th, or 45th and now 47th president. It came from this administration that we're looking at right now. So please remember that. It is my belief that I've said this from day one, that and I feel like I need to show my face. I mean, forgive me, I'm kind of haggard looking right now. It's been a really rough time. I have a dog who's dying, and I've been having body issues since this whole thing began physiologically. It's like the things that I'm able to eat is very small now. So forgive my looks. I apologize. I'm not the prettiest picture to look at now, but I think it's important for making eye contact. Although for me, it's weird because I'm looking at a dot. It has been my belief since 2019 that these people have been taken off of the world stage. I believe that in 2019, all of the celebrities from LA were already out of there. This is why you saw them all inside. This is why they were never outside. This is why, although Britney Spears moved to Mexico, allegedly, all of her videos were taking place in the same house still. I believe that that is a fake Britney, like has been for a long time. Or she never washes the eyeliner off of her face and has not changed that 90s choker since about 99. So again, we have to be discerning. And sometimes that's hard to do when you're listening to a lot of opinions, a lot of voices. And anything that I say to you, check, go research, go do your own homework, sit down and pray, get in touch with whatever you call the maker. If you want to call it Akashic Records, that is a term that kind of relates or uploads. Since this began, I believe God has been communicating with me and many others, especially women in this time, because our men are in error. Men, you can think of that as you will. You know in your heart of hearts that I'm right. You know what you've done. I don't need to air your dirty laundry here in this video. And if you don't believe me, ladies, I mean, again, check with your heart. There's a lot going on out there, and the people that we thought we knew, we don't. But again, if you want that background, I need you to go back yourself into the testimony. So since 2019, we had the celebrities all do that John Lennon song, Imagine There's No Heaven. And even especially the girl who plays the new Wonder Woman, she was very teary-eyed. This was all back in 2019. If you are good at body language, if you observe people since 2019, I don't think, at least 2019, excuse me, I don't think America has gotten any real news. I don't think we've gotten any real news since like the 1962 era, which is wild that Kennedy was gone in 1962, and then we have Vatican II in 1962. So there are some cyclical things here that I want to mention as well. I will be as concise and quick as I can. So I think that what we're watching are old videos. I think that this stuff in LA happened in 2019, and now they've come up with their cover story and their videos, and they've put it all together in a way that maybe it makes some kind of sense. Now, are we seeing truth being exposed? Yes and no. That Ally Carter chick, they say, oh, she made these predictions. Hello, it's not a prediction when you're involved in the anarchy that is taking place. That is you promising them this is going to happen. And these people on TikTok are warning us in their own way. Some just to mock and make fun. They're saying something's going to happen in North Carolina soon. I've told you since the first channel, and there are videos on this channel as well. I talked about dreaming of flooding from like 2015 to 2018. And then after that, it was a great earthquake. And the flooding was always on the East Coast in inland cities. It wasn't on the coast, which is why my dreams were so disjointed. I couldn't understand what was happening. I'd be like walking on a bridge and the water was all the way up to the bridge. Like that's 200 above sea level, 200 feet or whatever. And then I'd see like these highway signs, you know, and just wood floating and these skyscrapers, but there was water all the way up, you know, to the roofs and whatnot. So I've told you about all of that. And if you don't want to believe me, you don't have to, but this is me being obedient. And I'm telling you now, something is coming now. It's with this administration that's coming in. I don't know what's happening on the 20th with the inauguration. We're going to talk about that briefly. But I had that dream about Mary being in a garden. And when I woke up, I researched and I found out that she was actually in the White House garden, and that I said, oh my gosh, you're bleeding. And she said, soon it will fall from the sky. And I was made to know that it had something to do with the White House in America. And I don't know why from the sky. I'm not sure why that was there. But again, if the pattern holds, then the next things to watch out for would be the earthquake on this side of the America on the eastern coast, and more flooding, of course, because, and again, this is why we could be seeing things in the sky as well, these plasma things. When the earth opens up and things are shaken or moved, you will have smells like sulfur come up. You will have things look like rainbows in the sky, which is methane being released. All of these things indicate that the earth itself is under distress. So bear that in mind with all of these plans about these smart cities and things. A lot of these things are going to be interrupted and they're not going to come to fruition. All right. They're just not. Okay. So let's get back on this train here. What promises did Trump make and what is he doing now? Well, if this pattern holds and we're still in the upside down, inside out, then everything that they're promising is actually going to be the opposite of that, right? It's not going to be that way. And let's also bear in mind, these people aren't mentioning Christ because they don't want to mention him at all. The goal is for this person, this Antichrist, to be received by the world, by the secular world, as the Savior, as the Messiah, as the Mashiach, okay? but that's not true. And what I find interesting is that every other religion is primed for this. The Jewish people think that the Savior is going to be a political force, which I would disagree with. God is above all that, right? And it might appear like that at first, but he's the Savior, so he will fix, everything, not just politics. Anyway, moving on. Every other religion is ready to accept a Messiah. Even the Muslims and Muhammad, blessed be his name, and blessed be Jesus' name all the time, as respectful as they are, they also have been primed to receive a Messiah right on the earth. And so understand that when we talk about these things, people are going to be looking to this individual. They're going to think we're crazy. They're going to want to throw things at us. They're going to want to pull their hair out. They're not going to understand why we're not charmed by the smarmy, pirate-like individuals, which that's my favorite terminology for them. They're greasy. They don't look greasy maybe, but they're greasy and they're smarmy and they're kind of slimy and they're untrustworthy. And remember, I've lived with this for 30 years and I didn't even wake up to it until 5 or 6 years ago, that I know the Antichrist, that the Antichrist spirit has spoken to me through many people, as I'm sure he has with you. Maybe you just haven't recognized it yet. Northeast Ohio, The Devil is in Ohio, Netflix, The Simpsons. Now, are all these things happening because it's been written about in the media and put into some quantum computer? And are they just using these fictional headlines as real headlines? Well, that's where I need your help. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in LA. I know what God has shown me. And I think that we are seeing old videos. We are seeing old, like these are already a couple of years old. Okay. I think they're using minorities. And again, please forgive when I say this. Indigenous Americans, African Americans, who are, I believe, the original Egyptians, who are royalty. Hebrew Israelite cults, the cults, all this stuff. They are using the minorities, but mainly right now, like the Latinos and the African Americans and the indigenous population and people of the rainbow hijacker community. They are using these individuals to clear the way. Now that the American experiment is over, they are getting rid of the deplorables, the ones that, like me or you, who would tell the truth about what actually happened in history while they're trying to rewrite it, right? But funny thing is, once they do their job, they're going to be eliminated too. So, like, this is just a continuous problem. And when it's left the wealthy with the wealthy or the top, whoever's left, you'll see those people turn on each other too, especially those who are supposed to be loyal to each other. Okay, so and the weaponization of the government against the American people. So all of these are promises that Trump is making, right? Stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, lock up violent offenders. Hold there, okay? Oh my. Prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country. I can't. So they really do want to cover the sun. Okay, so you could look at this one, for example, when discerning the headlines. You could look at this as saying, okay, they're coming up with a cover for the firmament, because the firmament is being revealed too, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I believe that where the sundogs that we see, for example, the rainbows that we see around the sun, that is when the sun is in the perfect spot to be reflected off of the firmament, the back of the firmament, as to where it looks like a circle, right? Everything is in center. Well, you have things change, right? I believe that the stars are kind of attached to the firmament in a way. Just follow me here. And so every so many years, right, cyclical, you have probably the sun at this perfect angle as to where it looks or it acts like a magnifying glass on ants. Remember old movies and cartoons? A little boy would be, it's terrible, but he would have a magnifying glass over some ants on the sidewalk, and the sun would come down and he'd fry them. And oh, that's so funny. I think that's what happens with the sun and the firmament. Like every 2,500 years, it probably makes the shape of a cross. We'll probably see shapes like Metatron's sigil, right? Because of the positioning of the firmament and the luminaries. The downside of this is, will this cause fires? Is this what we're seeing, that the sun is being ricocheted or reflected off of the dome of the firmament and causing fires like this, right? And God always warns his people before a thing happens. Now, is this judgment in the way that people think? Yes and no. I think our idea of what judgment is a little, it's a little too, like, I don't even know what word to use. It's a little too personal. I think judgment is very impersonal, right? Like the girl on the scale at Willy Wonka, right? Is she more good or good, more bad? Like, I think that judgment is like bringing things into balance. It's not really considered, is it going to bring things into balance? Well, then whatever collateral damage it does, it's just too bad because it's bringing things back the way they should be. I hope that makes sense. I'm not meaning that God is deferential or what have you, but there are certain laws, like natural laws, already put in place. Nature is already put in place. God can't go against his own, you know what I mean? At a certain time, he will open the firmament and we'll see all of these things as they really are. But I believe that's what's happening, and that the government, as always, these fallen angel entities who meet on Mount Hermon, where the base of the UN is, hello, the fallen angels run our realm. They don't have to, though. That's happened by default. They should not run our realm, okay? Now, there is a respect issue that we have to have there, because their dominion is principalities and powers, right? And wherever their dominion is, we have to respect that. Kind of like how you can go in the ocean, but you have to respect that there's going to be tides and waves and that you should be cautious. That's the same way we have to look at angels and demons to a point, is that respect level. Like, I'm not going to mess with you because I don't want you messing with me. I'm not going to break the laws of nature because I don't want that coming back on me, type thing. All right, so now he's saying also he's going to keep the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. That is in conflict with his buddy Elon's issues. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate. That is in conflict with his buddy Elon's issues. So we see right away certain things are occurring here, right? Now, my concern is, as far as end time prophecy goes, they're spoken about a kingdom with the 10 horns. And if Trump actually gets Greenland and Canada, and we have the United States, and then he gets Mexico, he only needs 6 more for then the U.S. to be the head of the 10 horns from Daniel's prophecy. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. So I wanted you to see some of Trump's promises and ask you, does it go along with the things you're seeing him do now? Deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. Hold, please, because I want to show you something. What does that say? What does that say right there? Deport pro-Hamas radicals. Okay, well, let's change the page here. There we go. Let me share this one. So in case you didn't see that, we just looked at Trump's plans, right? He's going to get rid of pro-Hamas people. Okay. Well, then what does all this mean? Now, let me first say that it's pretty normal. America, it is written into our Constitution that you have freedom of religion. So it's pretty standard for our president to accept prayers or giftings from leaders of main world religions, main Abrahamic religions, and sometimes others. This is just a standard. You're not wanting to offend everyone. You don't want to tell everyone, hey, your gods are demons, because immediately they stop listening to you. So I don't use that rhetoric, right? Not everything's a demon. Mankind does a good enough job on his own of falling to temptation. However, once we understand what these things really are and how they operate and how to clean our vessels, And I think that's what has to happen for this transition that's coming. If we get our light bodies, you have to be as empty and clean and as clear-headed as possible and as pure-hearted as possible. Otherwise, I think it could be a painful experience. Again, these are my speculations. This is what I've come to in prayer with the Lord. I don't sit and write prophecies. I don't call myself a prophet. All I know is that for the last 6 years, God has been mad talking to me. And before that, he did, but not, let's just say I wasn't paying attention for a long time. And in school, yes, let's get this out of the way. Whatever's happening with this gateway thing, all I say is, yeah, I did that, and I think that those individuals are still monitoring our progress. I might do a shorter video on that. I don't know how I feel about it, because for whatever reason, that topic like triggers me. Like I can't express myself, which is weird for me. So if anyone knows anything about the Gateway test or about the Gateway program, you might want to shoot me an email, because it's pretty surreal. So who do we have right here? New York Post. We'll look at a couple. So if you're anti-New York Post, don't worry, we'll check another one out. So this is who's going to speak at Trump's inauguration. I'm sorry for the ads. I apologize. Imam, who refused to call Hezbollah a terrorist organization, scheduled to deliver a benediction at Trump's inauguration. And we're just reading the news here, right, folks? This is all publicly available information. We're just reading the news. A Muslim cleric who refused to call Hezbollah a terrorist organization and has a significant history of extremism has been tapped to deliver a benediction at President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration next week. Husham al-Husani, the imam of Karbala Islamic Educational Center in Dearborn, Michigan, what have I said about Michigan, gang, is among 4 religious leaders listed in an Inauguration Day program obtained by the Washington Reporters on Monday, who are scheduled to speak immediately after Trump's January 20th address. Hold, please. If you're older like me and you've been on YouTube for many years, you remember that around 2012, 13, 14, and 15, there were a lot of stories coming out of Michigan about how women and children were being followed to the grocery stores, out of the grocery stores. White vans were attempting to actually push women into these vans, and how they had to have men, like their husbands, their neighbors, kind of escort them throughout and around town. And there is rumors about Sharia law being present there. I don't know. I'm not in Michigan, but I do know that the Lord told me not to go there. And if you want to see that video, you got to go to the YouTube video list and then click on, whoops, I wasn't showing the right tab. I'm sorry. Click on the, right under videos where it says popular, oldest, or newest. Click on oldest, and it will put them in chronological order so you don't have to scroll all the way through. I've had a lot of really nice experiences with Muslims on the platform. They've taught me a lot, actually, and their end time book really kind of parallels Revelation, and it also says the reason during most times why there are 2 witnesses is because if one's a woman, you must have another one. Now, the second one can be either a man or a woman, but if you have one witness to an event or events or things, and you need her to speak and you're going to take her word for a thing that occurred, you need to have 2, because then you have a man backing up the woman, or you have 2 sets of eyes and not just one. I know women are less than in that way, but that's a clue to us. Again, God told me to witness. Am I one of the 2 witnesses? I don't know. All I know is that life has been really extreme. I've been tormented more than I should have to be. The same voice speaks to me from relatives, from people that I go down, for yard sales. I told you what the one guy said. I said, I'm from Pittsburgh. And he said, and that, isn't that in the States? And I said, excuse me? And he said, isn't Pittsburgh in the States? And I'm like, aren't we in Northeast Ohio? Like, this is the States, right? So that's just one example. If you want to hear more of my testimony, go back. But I've had a lot of really cool Muslims on here. So that's, I wanted to give you a few little, again, nuggets throughout the videos. Gems, if you will. And they like to do that, right? They like to let you know that they're watching, but they're not watching. So at work, my boss's daughter, she starts to calling her Daisy May the one day, and I said, "That's my great grandma's name." And like as usual, when I try to like tell a story, nobody listens to me. Like this is my life now. My channel is the only place where I get to actually talk uninterrupted about an idea or concept because for the last 6 years, these people don't allow me to speak. They've even tried to get me to take a vow of silence. So they really, really want to stop my testimony. I get nothing from this aside from harassment and torment and secluded and isolated. Daisy May was my great grandmother's name, and then she starts calling her daughter that. And I went to say, "Hey, that's my," and like she just kept interrupting me. And I said, "Well, that's not her name, right?" "Well, I just call her that sometimes." And what's really funny about this woman is she reminds me so much of my aunt, so much. Now, remember, I'm only like half related to all my relatives. Again, I have a strange backstory, but I think that probably 144,000 of you do as well. And remember, our teachers are wolves in sheep's clothing, the ones who have taught us scripture. So, with some of this, we have to muddle along as best we can. If they're telling us to look in the east, we should look in the west. Like right now, they want us looking in LA. That stuff already happened. I'm telling you, we should be looking on the east coast at this point or to the north. I told you that in 2019, I believed all the celebrities moved out of here. They said, "Oh, well, they're going to, they're building their houses in Hawaii." That's actually not true. In 2012, 2013, when all this stuff started happening, all of the wealthy elites were going to New Zealand at that time. So again, they do this every few years. I don't know if it's a dress rehearsal. I don't know if it's to give people to give up on Christ because like they talk about the rapture and then it doesn't happen, so people get disappointed. I'm not sure why these cycles keep taking place, but I know that I have to speak about them to you so that you recognize them too, and so that you look at all of these things with caution. And I'm telling you, the videos they're showing of LA, those are old. All of these people who are showing you the reaction, um, all of those people who are like showing you the reactions to the TikToks, ask yourself, why are they all showcasing the same videos? Because it is propaganda. They're trying to indoctrinate you. So even these TikTokers that you love, even these YouTubers that you love, if they're going viral, if they're popular, there's a reason for it. Okay. However, though, at this time, I believe God is raising a few people up, but he does not raise people up through money. God don't do that. He does not work that way. And I know people want to keep their nice things as Christians. You want to keep your material things, but you might, I knew this was coming in 2017, so I started letting go of everything. I don't have much that can be taken from me at this point, and my faith can never be taken. So I've already won, and so have you. We just have to go through it. So he's having this guy speak at his inauguration. It almost seems to me like they want to do everything that they can to get the public rowdy and in chaos and in some type of anarchist mindset so they can then reveal the UN troops that are already all over America, but they'll reintroduce this. Get used to the fact that we don't have a government anymore. We have not had one since at least 2019. We have been an experiment since pretty much the jump. But our government, as we knew it, as we grew up with, that is gone, and it has been gone. I don't think Russia is our problem, at least not on our land. I think we need to worry about the Chinese. Again, this all came to me in dreams and discussion and prayer. You don't have to believe me. I'm doing my part to warn people. So if he says on his homepage on the Trump website that he is going to deport these people, why is he having one of them allegedly speak at his inauguration? I don't have the answer to it, but I think you should just watch out and be careful. Now, he also has a rabbi. Let's take a look at who this person is and what his beliefs are. What is he all about? The rabbi who will be speaking. And again, this is just going to be a quick run through. It won't be long. Rabbi Ari Berman of Yeshiva University and Imam Husham al-Husseini of Dearborn, Michigan represent groups of people who have opposing views on the Israel-Hamas war, but who nonetheless gave President-elect Donald Trump more support in November than they had in prior elections. Okay, so Berman became the president of, what is that, Yale University? The 138-year-old modern Orthodox institution in Upper Manhattan. In 2017, under his leadership, the school shifted rightward religiously and politically. Berman's refusal to give official recognition to rainbow hijackers plus the student club, for example, led to a lengthy legal battle. Okay. Now, again, and this is what they're saying. I'm an American, but I'm also Jewish. How Yeshiva University women are voting for president. So that's related. Berman did not speak out in support of Trump during the election. On election day, he shared on X the verse, in the words of Daniel 2:21, you change times and season. You depose kings and raise up others. And added, our tradition teaches that we are entrusted to serve as God's messengers in steering the course of history. In 2021, commenting on the January 6th issues, Berman said that he was heartbroken witnessing the attempt to tear asunder the very fabric of our democracy and condemn those acts. But who is he? Rabbinical. And returned to teach the Talmud in 1998. Judaism also practices the Talmud, which not most people know. The Talmud also allegedly speaks nasty of our Messiah, Christ, and I've seen it and I've read a little bit of it on the channel. But again, is it the real thing? It's digital. They can go in here and change anything. Okay, so now here's the thing. If you're a Christ follower and if you're a Catholic or a Christian, these people are heretics. That's just what they are. This is why we're not supposed to vote. These are not godly people. We are supposed to accept whatever it is that happens, who God gives us. But as a Christian or Catholic, they don't need our votes. They have enough secular people. They don't need, there are more of them in that way, but there are more of us. There are more of them because of their minions, because of their human minions who have turned on, their fellow mankind. So in that way, there's more of them than us. Oh, this is also wild. I can't believe some of these things I have to talk about. Okay, so what I believe we're also dealing with is a whole lot of propaganda that is coming through TikTok. And you're going to say, it doesn't matter to me. People say, okay, freedom of speech. Let me tell you something. Freedom of speech covers this. What comes out of your mouth? Freedom of speech does not mandate that a radio station give you airtime. It does not mandate that a podcast give you airtime. It does not mandate that a website give you a blog. It does not mandate that you become a celebrity and get TV time. Therefore, it does not mandate that you get the use of apps. What about apps that aren't even created yet? Are you going to say they're hindering your freedom of speech because you can't? Freedom of speech covers your mouth. And yes, of the press. There is freedom of the press, okay? But just because they want to close down an app, these things have been happening forever. There are certain countries that don't allow McDonald's in their countries because they know what's in the food. There are certain countries that don't allow certain makeups in their country, right? America and Italy have entirely different standards as far as FDA and what goes into makeup and cosmetics. I know this because I sold them and I was a cosmetics manager and I had to know these things. All right. TikTok leaving is not hurting your free speech. You can still speak whatever you want to speak. Okay. But freedom of speech doesn't mandate that you suddenly get airtime. It's an app. Get over it. There's a reason they want you begging for that. There's a reason they want you begging for food. There's a reason they want you begging for, money or a bank account. And you're going to see that reason come to fruition very soon here. I once said that they would never shut down the internet unless it was an act of God, which in a way I still believe. However, I do believe they would shut it down for us, for the public, while they added restrictions and said, hey, if you want to get back on, you got to have your digital ID or you don't get on. You're not going to be allowed to participate in society if you don't have that. Now, these faces that they're using, Bill Gates and this, that, and the other, stop. It was a Chinese company that bought Stouffer's back in like 2012, 2014. I know because there's a Stouffer's factory right up the road from me. Again, Northeast Ohio. I know these things because I read the news. I stay abreast of current events. Do I always believe what they tell me? No, but I've paid attention to things like that. I also paid attention, and you can go back and fact check this as well. Go back to 2019 and see how many American local government people, administrators, servants, right? Public servants resigned their posts starting in 2018, 2019. Go look who took their places. It's obvious what's happening. There has been a takeover. China may have called in its debt because we borrowed from them. The funny thing is, though, is there's no such thing as debt when it comes to money. Money is not real to begin with. They could print more. It'll have whatever value they say it has. Doesn't matter how much or how little there is. It's paper. It'll burn up anyways. It has no value. But you keep going to work every day for that stuff. Well, it allows me to get this. They're going to do the same thing with Bitcoin. Why would anyone want anything that has the word crypt in it? Cryptocurrency, blockchain. Those are all slavery terms. Those are slavery terms. But right now they're using the minorities. Y'all think you're on top because they're using you to push this agenda. And the sad thing is I like some of you, but I know what you're doing. This is why channels like mine are suppressed. You're only growing because you're coming from content farms and you are pushing the propaganda that they want you to indoctrinate the American youth with about how they should hate America, about how they shouldn't trust our government. And again, I'm not saying I can't decide those things for you. But that's the problem, is that they're shaping truth and they're holding back full and complete disclosure and truth. They've been giving us soft disclosure for a while now, and the soft disclosure is the fact that you are on CCA recording all the time, which I don't consent to because at this point it's basically against my religion. I get on a camera like this so you can see my eyes and know that I'm a real person and this is real conversation, not using a script. No one has a script for me. I'm not owned by anybody. Is it helping? Are my efforts even worth it? Has all this torment and physical abuse as well, has it been worth it? Has it helped any of you? I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is that people who shouldn't know private things about me know them. And little small channels that I discover and really enjoy watching suddenly are huge and big. I watched the lip reading girl. She's like brand new. And now she's huge on TikTok. Anyways, point being, things are not what you think they are here. It's very possible a lot of us are Truman and we are some source of entertainment, some Hunger Games, some dystopian Logan's Run for somebody in Singapore or Hong Kong or Taiwan or Israel. It's true. I can look up right now all the CCA cameras in America and you'll be like, oh my, like how everything we do is recorded, everything, everywhere. And again, which should not be okay with Indigenous Americans. That should not be all right. It literally steals your soul. I've seen it do it to people. It did it to me for a time until I came back to God. I still don't like getting on the camera because of things I know about it now, supernaturally speaking. But here's the thing. If they shut down the internet, it will be so that we're begging for it back. It will be with more restrictions. You will have to have a digital ID to get on. You will have to use your real name and be verified, just like Twitter. It'll be like the movie Circle with Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson. And you have the Hecate Labyrinth. It'll be just like that. They'll say, well, if you could just behave, we wouldn't have to watch everything you do. Yeah, but cameras, what is it in quantum theory? That when a molecule or a particle is observed, it behaves differently than when it's not observed. These are portals. They are these elementals that they travel via air, water, earth, airwaves, air signals, frequencies. They're coming in and out of our lives, in and out of our homes. And if you're not careful, depending on what you're watching, if you're watching a bunch of corn, they are entering your vessel because you're giving them agreement and permission. I really have to think long and hard now if I'm going to allow myself to use these screens anymore, knowing that they might actually be housing sentient beings. Because I'm not cool with slavery, no matter what type of slavery it is. And if these things are sentient, because they come from the bottom of the ocean and they use sand to make the screens, should we be doing this? This is witchcraft. The phones are witchcraft. These screens are witchcraft. Should we be doing this at all? I'm still praying on that because I haven't decided if the internet is Satan's domain or if it began as God's. Because who laid the cables in the ocean? If they wrote it out to us in 95 and they want us to believe all these crazy things about our lack of technological advancement in the history, and again, there's nothing new under the sun. All this technology has been here. They're just rolling it out for our generation. We've already been bought and sold, and now people are selling their souls twice over. So we're going to look at something else, and I'm going to hide my ugly face because you probably don't need to see it all the time. Is there anyone here? Can I check in on you guys real quick and just say hello? Oh, one person. I have my Carriana 83. Oh my gosh. I'm glad you're here. I forgot the name of your channel. And so I could never subscribe after I changed channels. Oh heavens. Wait, I gotta show my face again just to say hi if you're still here. Hi, I'm so glad to see you. Not like actually see you, but wow, so cool. So cool. That like made my day to see you, Carriana. I see you and I will absolutely come subscribe to your channel. I'm going to do it right now so it lets me sub to your channel. If it'll take me there. Are you not going to take me to her channel? Oh, here it goes. I'm going to subscribe. There we go. Such a pretty girl she is. All right. So the next thing I wanted us to look at, and I'm not exactly sure why, but again, there's a couple things that we have to take a look at, and I just want you to see a couple of things. I want to share this tab. Okay, so now we're looking at Daniel, all right? I don't want to look at the whole thing. Maybe this will encourage you to go look on your own, okay? So I don't want to go over the whole book of Daniel. So the Catholics, we have a bit of a different interpretation as far as eschatology goes than the Protestants. And I'm not downing Protestants. I love you. I love Muslims. I do. Like it's kind of a curse. I love everybody. I can't help it. And then that's why everybody has such power to hurt me is because I literally love everybody. So it's a catch-22. There's that 22 again. So our eschatology is a bit different because we use the KJV plus the Apocrypha. We don't call them Apocrypha. They're books of our Bible. When the Protestants did the Reformation and they left the Catholic Church and they tore it asunder, they tore the book too. They didn't take all of them because they don't believe they should be canon. Problem with that is you're missing some stuff, right? Now, I'm not saying whether it's canon, whether it shouldn't be. I try not to get involved in any type of politics. None. Okay? Just to be clear about that. But we need to look at this. Why do we need to look at this? Because something keeps telling me 1947. Well, what was 1947? 1947 was Roswell, but 1947 was also a whole lot of other stuff. But mainly it's when the United States made Israel a nation. But you got to ask yourself again, why does the United States have all this power? And why are we so tied to Israel? Either the United States is housing a lot of Israelis, the lost tribes, right? And they just want to keep us here and confused in this land. Because you have to think that people, even though they know Bible prophecy, they don't want it to happen, right? They want their person to be the Messiah. And we have to understand they're blinded too, right? By sin and by the curse. God said he would blind the Jewish people Pontius Pilate asked them, do you want me to free this one or the other guy? And the Jewish people said to free the murderer. And he said, well, this man, Jesus's blood will not be on my hands. And the Jewish crowd said, let it be on our hands and all of our children's hands. We will take the accountability or account for it, something like that. And so that is why they are blinded even to this day. But I think they're waking up, and I think I might have some of that bloodline because just of how radical my awakening was in 2017, 2018, and because of some of the things God has shared with me that are personal, and I'm not going to, as much as I do reveal, just imagine the stuff I don't reveal. So let's go over this real quick because I want you to get a big picture of where we're at today and why all this stuff is coming home to roost now and why it's all kind of culminating. Because I think it'll give you'll better be able to navigate the choppy waters that we're in and we're about to be in, because things are about to start happening very quickly. All right. And this is why I'm doing this video, because again, these devices are witchcraft, and I don't know how much longer I can justify doing this, right? I believe I'm doing it for God, and God has told me all these things, right? And I know that the enemy has tried to silence me, even tried to get me to take a vow of silence. So again, I'm still in prayer about it, but if you can leave this stuff behind, do it as soon as possible. And all I'm going to say about that is, do you remember right before Christmas about the stories that were coming out in the news about the pagers that were exploding? I'm concerned with where our devices come from and what then might happen. They're really encouraging you and pushing you to download this new Chinese app called Red. I can go over why Red is not the way to go symbolically and spiritually right now, and I could take all day to do it. Okay, America is the WHORE of Babylon. America is Babylon. We are Babylon. We are Egypt. Now, they do a lot of illusion with their cameras. I don't know how they do it with the planes and people who actually travel. All I can say is if you're in the skies traveling, you are part of Satan's kingdom in some way because you are deceiving people. There is a big deception happening. All these people fly and nobody can agree on the shape of the planet. Like that should put off so many red flags for people. But again, we're not asking the right questions. Everybody wanted to get on people for being racist about Melania Trump and Obama's speech being the same. Well, why would you get on her? It's racist. You're focusing on the wrong part. We should be asking is why they have scripts in the first place and why these two first ladies are using the same script. Allie Carter isn't a prophet, man. She knew the fires were coming because they already happened, and because a lot of those people over there are involved in what's happening. And remember, the people you're seeing testifying, they're already actors. They're already actors. They're already a part of the system. All we know is what these people tell us, and people lie. I don't want you to be so easily deceived, because if you're deceived by this stuff now, these little parlor tricks, then what is coming when they start using the firmament as a projector? And I'm not saying this because you're going to have elements of fakery out there, and you're going to have the real deal. And you are going to have to be on point with your discernment game. Like, there's just no other choice. And so that's another reason that I do this. So is the little horn of Daniel 7 the Pope or the Catholic Church? The theory that little horn symbolizes the papacy in the Roman Catholic Church is the empire of the youngest horn is called a historical interpretation of the book of Daniel. It tries to undermine the credibility of the Catholic Church by identifying it with the pagan empire. It was prevalent and taught by the reformers like Martin Luther, John Calvin, and John Wesley. Let's be very clear. Martin Luther wanted to get married and still be a member of the clergy. The church is who you marry as a member of the clergy. The reason they discourage you having a family is because when it comes down to it, you're going to have to choose between the church and your family, and you better put the church first. And it's to keep you pure. People who are in the act of fornication, whether you're trying to have a family or not, most people don't even realize it's not mandated by God. The only time it's mandated by God is when it's for procreation. I don't care if you're married or not, because the word married, they changed too. Married used to mean the act of coupling. Married used to mean fornication. This is why No fornicators, no drunkards. Those people don't get into heaven. You've got to stop doing all those things completely. And I know people are going to like come at me and be like, oh, we're already saved, this, that, and the other. I'm not saying you're not saved. All right. I'm just saying after this, there's some stuff to go through, some refinement still. I believe purgatory is a thing. They talk about it in the Bible. They don't use that word. Okay. Purgatory is where you get purged of your nasty black goo, like the venom in Spider-Man. I just hope a lot of us here now, if we're saved, we'll be able to avoid purgatory because of what's coming, because we're going to be martyrs, a lot of us. Not all of us. Not everyone shall have to die in the end days. I hope I'm one of those people, but I've been told otherwise. I've known what is going to happen to me since 2017. I've tried to change it and alter it a bit because of how it's going to occur, and I don't want certain people to feel badly. But again, if we already had a rapture and it was spiritual in nature, then most of the children, spirits, the innocent ones before the age of reason, before the age of 8, 9, they're already gone, is my belief. Now you say, well, what about the infants here now? Again, I don't have all the answers. I'm still sorting things out, but I know people are not the same. And I know my husband. And as a mother, I know my children. And I know the way they smell and their mannerisms and the way they speak. I know the way they text. And all I can say is in 2018, the end of 2018, something happened. And it wasn't just the way they perceived me. Something happened. Oh, let me get out of here and go back. Okay. I gotta get on the right page. Sorry. Okay, so God wished difficulties to be scattered through the sacred books inspired by him in order that we might be urged to read and scrutinize them more intensely and experiencing in a salutary manner our own limitations, we might be exercised into submission of mind. That's from St. Augustine, and I believe he's right. Study to show yourself approved means just that. Study to show yourself as approved to God, but not his children perish without proper knowledge. We can perish, right? If we don't have the knowledge of certain things, it can cause our end, our demise. God does not want that for us. He wants an abundant life for us. Okay. So I think that I would agree with that. And I would also, one of the things I learned in catechism, and again, I'm passing these things along to you, not per se to convert you, although that'd be awesome, to give you pieces you might be missing. Okay. Because I love you and I care about you, not for any other reason than that. Every verse has 3 different meanings. You have a spiritual connotation, you have a material or physical connotation, then you have something having to do with a cyclical or timeline aspect, which is a little lost to me still, but I'm working on it. Okay, so basically what Augustine is saying is that God did not want these to be so easily interpreted. That way, they would not be misinterpreted before their time. That way, people 50 years ago couldn't be saying this already happened if it didn't. Now, we do believe that some of the prophecy in Daniel is fulfilled, some is not. Okay? Okay, let's see. Now, what I want to show you is further down. What is a reasonable interpretation of the little horn? The little horn will come in the end times, which is also referred to in Revelation. It talks in the singular about one individual. The little horn that Daniel sees is likely the Antichrist, a world leader who rises to power from within a league of 10 future kings. 10 future kings. A league of 10. There's more than that in the UN. Think, Jen, think. The Antichrist's power will be taken away and completely destroyed forever in 726. The reign of the Antichrist is limited, 42 months, which is 3.5 years, Revelation 13:5, or perhaps 2,300 nights, which is 6.3 years, Daniel 8:14. So there's where we have a little play. Eschatology is not a defined science, right? It's something, again, Prophecy can only be properly interpreted when that time is here. That's why God made it difficult, so that you wouldn't have people saying, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. This is why he said never set dates. This is why the rapture people need to just kind of chillax on that. There's already a lot of unsaved people here. All right? Talking about the rapture and getting people that excited and worked up, thinking that they're going to avoid complete tribulation, is dishonest. God never lifts everybody out of all troubles. He never has. We will face, and a lot of people like me now are facing tribulation now. So it's kind of disrespectful too, to act as if we won't have any hardship while we're here. I've been violated in my own home by boys that I helped raise. We are in some evil, wicked, nasty times. And I say that with all seriousness. It's not a lie. It's not an exaggeration. It happened. I went to the police. They said, oh, Phil, write this out backwards. Write your story in reverse. Tell us what's happened in the last couple of years that led up to this. I'm in the upside down. Like, what police in their right mind is going to say, write this in reverse? And not even ask to see the bruises or any physical evidence to take pictures, and then not offer to take me to get a kit done at an ER. We are in evil times, and it's very disrespectful to act as if everybody's just going to be taken up out of troubles. God does not do that. Is the rapture real? It looks as if some type of thing takes place. He sends his angels out to the four corners of the earth to gather the elect. That is not a verse anyone ever points to as the rapture, but it's the only one where I see it very plain as day. But it's not Christ coming, it's his angels, because Christ got business to attend to. Christ is going to be the bringer of God's wrath and judgment. His angel is going to get the saints out of the way. Christ comes once. He's not going to come up and down, up and down, up and down. Like, it just doesn't happen like that. Anyways, so we have right here, the little horn will lose this war against God. His boastful blasphemy and wanton violence are only temporary. The reign of Christ is eternal. Okay, so we're done with this tab. We're going to go to another one. Hold, please. Let me get to where I'm going. Now, I want to look at, real quick, while we are on the top media, I have been looking for a speech because I believe it is the real reason that Kennedy was ended. A lot of people say it's due to the Cuban Missile Crisis. It has something to do with that. But in a nutshell, and again, I'm trying to find this because I had the information saved and I can't find it now. And I've been looking for it. I've tried Googling different terms. I've tried different search engines. Maybe one of you can help. There is a speech in which Kennedy advises. He gets into actual detail. And the backstory is that basically the CIA wanted to run PSYOPS on the American citizens. And he said no. That was a part of the Cuban Missile Crisis. He said that he would not allow that. He would not allow them to run that type of propaganda, run PSYOPs against American people just to get them on board for a war. Now, oh, they wouldn't do that. It's our government. They love us. Why would they want to do that? Well, number one, they're not next to us, so anything that happens to us isn't going to affect them, right? Keep your enemies close. Yeah, until it's time to take them down, then you don't want to be anywhere near them because, like the Titanic, it will pull everybody in that area down. So again, people might pretend to be your friends or your allies, but it doesn't last very long. Now, I want you to see how far our military will go. This is from a site called conspiracyanalyst.org. Conspiracy is not a bad word. It means when you have two or more people discussing and conspiring to do a thing. That's all it means. You do it every day. If you have one or two friends with you and you make plans, you're conspiring. It's just a word. Don't be afraid of it. Okay, a century of UFO PSYOPs exposed, part 2. Dulls the CIA and contradictory messaging by design. This is so relevant to what's happening today, and I found it by accident looking for a speech from Kennedy. How is this related to Kennedy? This guy here, he was the CIA director. And I guess him and Kennedy did not see eye to eye. They butted heads quite a bit. So let's check this out. Oh, wow. Alice through the looking glass. Now, I'm going to try and move through this quickly. Again, there's a lot of information to cover, and I can't see just putting up upload after upload after upload after upload. Hopefully, this will get some views. I'm not doing this for any other reason than to be of help in this time. If I had a world of my own, everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be what it is because everything would be what it isn't. And contrary-wise, what it is, it wouldn't be. And what it wouldn't be, it would be. You see? Alice through the looking glass. Click here for part 1. Click here to watch episode 1 through 3 of The Hidden Hand Behind UFOs. So this gets into, at this point in the story, a policy of contradictory messaging which remains consistent over the ensuing 70 years. 70 years is important, okay, because it's mentioned in the Bible. They say 70 weeks, and then our people say it means 70 years times 70. So then they come up with 490 years from the time of the prophecy until when it's over. And they're watching for this third temple to be built, and they're also watching for these heifers. I don't know where that prophecy comes from. I don't know what people are talking about when they're talking about the red heifers. If you could enlighten me, is that in the Bible? Because we have people that are supposedly Christians talking about this, but I can't find that as part of a Christian prophecy. Much like peace and safety. That's something Paul says, but that's an all the time thing. He wants us to know that our enemies are going to say, oh yeah, sure, you're safe, you're secure. You're not. That's something we should always be on the lookout for. But this peace and safety, it's constant, dude. It's constant. The UN is constantly saying peace and security, constantly. Now you have people doing this again. Well, what does it really mean? Because you have some people doing it, and the person in the picture with them goes missing. You have some people doing it, and somebody in the picture with them is accused of doing something heinous to children. And usually it's the younger generation taking the older one out. I'm telling you, Elon Musk has made minions of our children. Okay, let me show you something. I'm gonna look something up real quick. Hold, please. Okay, so they're saying Elon Musk is a cheater as far as live streaming goes. It's November 6, 2024. Here, let me share this page. No, Elon Musk isn't the world's top 20 Diablo 4 player. He recently claimed that he's one of Diablo 4's top 20 players in the world, though it turns out he may be stretching the truth a little. Last we checked, Diablo 4's player base didn't consist of just over 800 people. Okay, so they're saying that maybe he hired a gamer to play for him, because how can he be doing all this and gaming? I told you that the man you see, that this face is a proxy. I told you that I found his name and a bunch of information when I started snooping into my family stuff because they were all acting weird. And Musk was one of the big things that kept coming up. And so were storage warehouses and Asian spas for whatever reason. And what was the other thing that ended up being a big thing? I've talked about all this so much. Anyways, carrying on. So he's allegedly like the top gamer. If he's actually doing this and he's actually gaming and all the live streams, all these young people tune in. And sometimes you have to be a member. You can't even see it. I remember I shared one of his streams and it said it was not available to the public anymore. Funny how I share like big ABC, NBC mainstream news headlines, and then suddenly it's not publicly available anymore once I point something out about it. But regardless, is he one of the top gamers? He probably isn't. This proxy isn't. But the actual, again, there's a proxy and a proxy and a proxy. The real elites are not going to show you what they look like. You'd be too easy to do them harm. They're not going to do that. So they have these people that they put in the media and act as their proxies. Okay? None of these people, just like you saw in the video on the TikToks of the It looks like people controlling the speakers at Congress and whatnot and testifying. There's somebody behind them like saying the same words. That's wicked, dude. I don't know what's going on there. But again, you're seeing a proxy in action. Okay? None of the people we see on the screen, you might as well just forget about them. They're not, some of them aren't real. Some of them are AI creations. Okay? Some of them are flat out droids. And again, it's all to make the illusion that the population is a lot higher than it is. All right? All right. So I wanted you to check out this. 1947 is the year, I believe, when they made Israel a nation. And we had a lot of stuff happen in 47. Trump was born in 1946. I'm going to close that now because you don't need to be looking at me while I read. It's just silly. Let's see. It was the first year of the Cold War, which would last until 91, ending with the dissolution of the Soviet Union. January and February, the winter of 46, was the worst snowfall. January 1st, Canadian Citizenship Act comes into effect, providing a Canadian citizenship separate from British law. Wow, they've not been independent for long, huh? Let's see what else. January 10th, the United Nations adopts a resolution to take control of the Free City of Trieste. What is that? What city is that? Italy, the capital and largest city of the autonomous region, as well as a narrow strip of Italian territory lying between the Adriatic Sea and Slovenia. Ah, I see why they did that. That's a tactical piece of land there. All right, so Elizabeth Short, Dahlia. Oh, the Black Dahlia murder on my birthday. Oh, today's my birthday, by the way. I don't celebrate anymore, but yeah. Vincent Auriol is inaugurated as president of France. But I want to show you. Just hang on. Oh, wow. Killing 20 people on board the Copenhagen. Wow. That's weird. Okay. Okay, so basically Israel became a nation in 1947, and then we had Roswell take place. So we had that as well. We had a lot of stuff going on. I want to click on the Truman Doctrine real quick. Okay, so Truman told Congress it must be the policy of the United States to support free peoples who are resisting attempted subjugation by armed minorities or outside pressures. The Truman Act. Funny, Truman. I never even, one of the presidents. Maybe they're pointing to something. Maybe we're supposed to look at his presidency a little more. Maybe that's why they named it The Truman Show. I think it's because it's Trueman, but you never know. The Truman Doctrine was informally extended to become the basis of American Cold War policy through Europe and the world. Okay, so let's go back. And I want us to go back here real quick. Okay, so we know Roswell happened in 1946, 1947. So let's come here. And we know that Daniel, there's a little bit about Daniel's prophecy being 70 years, meaning a week. Again, there's some play there that we have to kind of interpret. In April 52, have we visitors from space? An official message highlights from the highest office of the U.S. Air Force was delivered to an American audience saying, so remember, we've had disclosure. Oops, we've had disclosure, guys. Now the disclosure we're receiving, nobody's paying attention to. There's cameras everywhere, every place. There should not be any missing people. They should not need a digital ID. They've already got everything on camera mapped out. That is what they're softly disclosing to the American public right now. That's what you should be noticing in some of these videos, saying, where are they getting these videos from? Does this person know they're online and on a channel? Because some of those people, I guarantee you, don't even know. And you can edit things very nicely. Think on these things critically. There's a reason I'm saying them to you, and I'm being careful because we are always monitored. Again, our government has been infiltrated, and it has been since 2019. Okay, so this is what the Air Force come out and told the American public. Disks, cylinders, and similar objects of geometrical form, luminous quality, and solid nature for several years have been and may be now actually present in the atmosphere of the Earth. Globes of green fire, also of a brightness more intense than the full moon's, have frequently passed through the skies. These objects cannot be explained by present science as natural phenomena, but solely as artificial devices created and operated by a high intelligence. Boy, there's a half-truth wrapped in a lie if I ever saw it. Finally, no power plant known or projected on Earth could account for the performance of these devices. One must wonder how the Air Force's policy of publicizing artificial devices operated by a highly intelligent, not made from this Earth, existed on the one hand, while fanatically suppressing all discussion of UFOs on the other. Do you see what they're doing? Psychological warfare experiments on the minds of Americans. This is why Kennedy was ended. And it's continuing today. Okay? And if Trump gets in, he is not the same Trump that was here the first time. Why do you think Elon's beside him? Elon can buy TikTok. Elon can buy whatever he wants. The American election was bought and paid for. People were gambling and betting on it. Everything has been monetized, including you and me. Everything. Wake up, stand up, and stand firm. I'm not promoting violence of any kind. I'm telling you, peacefully resist all this garbage, all of it. We have to start doing that. And we have to be as strong and organized as they are. They all have their money in the same place. They all share their money. They all have each other's backs. Plausible deniability. Even when they're lying, they have each other's backs. We need to see this type of unity in Christians, free thinkers, independent thinkers, all of us. In 1952, the CIA director Walter Battle Smith wrote the director of Psychology Strategy Board of the CIA. Pay attention here. I am today transmitting the National Security Council proposal in which it concluded that the problems associated with unidentified flying objects appear to have implications for psychological warfare, as well as for intelligence and operations. I suggest that we discuss this at an early board meeting. The possible offensive and defensive utilization of these phenomena for psychological warfare purposes. So even if it is of God, let me show you my face again. Sorry. So even if it is of God, they're saying right here, I am today transmitting to the NSC a proposal in which it is concluded that the problems associated with unidentified flying objects appears to have implications for psychological warfare. They have been running game on us for so long. You know you can't trust the media, and still you're believing everything they tell you about these wildfires. Do you know how easy it is to do fire or volcano on AI video? Or background, even on GIMP or background eraser, those older ones. Do you know how easy it is to do fire? And then you have this guy saying he's in LA and there's no fire there. What about the empty cities in China? What are they doing with those? Would they be utilized, for propaganda purposes against American citizens? I would think so. Think so, and it would explain another reason for the masks being on people, especially in videos. All right. So they're basically telling you here the population and unvetted military officials were clearly seeing something in the skies of America and Britain. This was 1952. My mom was born that year. My mom was delivered right around the time we had this first or second or third 11th alien invasion. So they've been doing this. This is something they do. It's all psychological. It all stems from Project Paperclip, I think. I mean, it goes way back if you want to go back to like the Kabbalah or the Talmud, right? But you should not be using people's own free will and agency of choice against them. You'll never get anything productive or good from a lie. You can't rehabilitate people. Nothing good will come from a lie. So it says back then in 52, they were seeing something, and the value for psychological warfare was immense. It was here that the CIA entered the scene with the launch of the Robertson panel in order to begin to influence the narrative on flying saucer phenomenon. The Robertson panel was created under the chairmanship of a quantum mechanist, named Howard P. Robertson. That's interesting. He's a quantum mechanist. Wouldn't it be quantum mechanic? I'm not trying to be argue over semantics, but I don't know. During the war, Robertson was technical consultant to the Secretary of War, the OSRD liaison officer in London, and the chief of the Scientific Intelligence Advisory Section at Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force. After the war, he became a classified CIA employee. Classified, meaning secret, undercover. Okay? So we know who he is. Let's just move on and find out what else was done to us. From the start, the Robertson panel was overseen by an astrophysicist who had worked on the Manhattan Project, named Joseph Allen Hynek, who had also acted as scientific advisor on the earlier projects, Sign and Grudge. Have you guys ever heard of those? Earlier projects, Sign and Grudge. Are you going to get rid of this channel? Project Sign and Project Grudge and Project Bluebeam, an official U.S. government study of unidentified flying objects undertaken by the United States Air Force and active for most of 1948. It was the precursor to Grudge. Hold, please. You see how deep these rabbit holes go? But it shows you how long these things have been happening and what is going on with our country. The guy looks like, what's his face? Project Grudge was a short-lived project by the Air Force to investigate UFOs. Grudge succeeded Project Sign. It was followed by Project Blue Book. Okay, we all know about Blue Book, so let's go back to where we were. That's 2 more projects we can look up that I'd never heard of. Oh, Hynek had become a devotee of Manly P. Hall in the occult at an early age. I have one of Manly P. Hall's books, a couple of them actually. Again, I'm able to read them with a discerning mind and still have my Christian paradigm or hierarchy in my head. When we are given truth, regardless of where it comes from, it's truth. And Manly P. Hall gives a lot of truths from a scientific lens, so for secular people maybe to understand spiritual matters, but of course what they're all missing is Christ. Christ is the bridge. If you don't have Christ, you don't have the bridge. You can't get to the Father. Christ is the bridge. He takes our hand and reintroduces us back to God, much like that painting you see of Adam and God. I think it was on my YouTube. I don't know what's there now. All right, so we know that they're all into the occult, so let's keep going. In the final report, written by panel member Fred C. Durant, Robertson noted the discovery of extraterrestrial artifacts would be of immediate and great concern to not only the U.S., but all countries. Nothing like a common threat to unite people. Do you see what I mean? Over and over and over again, they've tried to get this off the ground. I just don't know why. Okay, so this aspect of modern monitoring of civilian UFO groups is useful. So this is what they're saying, is that you have guys undercover on both sides, talking against it, talking for it. All of it is misinformation to keep you away from the truth of the matter. And even if you get to the truth, they still want to psychologically mess with you just to see how it affects you. Just for kicks, I guess. Just like the studies that I've shared on my comment community tab, where they have like the psychiatric studies with the babies. This baby is neglected. This baby is overindulged. Which one ends up how? You just neglected a child on purpose. You just damaged and abused a human being, a sentient, living, breathing being, for the sake of a scientific study to get your name in a journal. We've done some heinous things, man. We've done, and the fallen, I believe, brought us to it. So basically, what I'm trying to show you here is that you have people giving misinformation on both sides. Neither one of them is telling you the truth. This is where you need to stop listening to people. Go within. You need to clear out your temple so you can discern these headlines and the things that are happening, and you can see the bigger picture, so that you and your family can be safe, so that you can have a life of abundance, so that you will not be deceived. It does feel like we're in the time of the end, but I'm sure other people in historic tragedies, sorry, Sammy, have felt the same, right? So no matter what, we're supposed to always be behaving in the same manner. We should be kind to our neighbors. We should stand firm in truth. We should deliver the truth in love. And if it hurts people, well, I mean, it's still the truth, right? And there's something to be said for discretion. Do not throw your pearls at swine. Not everybody is willing or wants to hear the truth. Not everybody wants to wake up, and we need to respect that. You can't force this on people. But those people who aren't waking up, they're going to be all the ones who are re-indoctrinated, re-educated, brainwashed by TikTok and whatever other algorithms to be the new ideal American citizen, which is shut up, do your work, take your medicine, play with your toys, and don't ask questions. That's it in a nutshell. But I wanted you to see this. The CIA has been running psychological warfare ops on its own people for a very long time. So I wanted to get you to another section here. And again, you can read this whole thing. It's really interesting. Bryan was a proud Grand Master of the Maryland Freemasonic Lodge and involved in many of the dirty operations launched by Allen Dulles before and during JFK's admin. See, this is the problem, is he was against them in a lot of this. He was like a wild card. They couldn't really control him, and that's why you had the Marilyn Monroe thing. Who knows if that even happened? But they had to ruin his squeaky clean image. William Moore was the author. 33 years with his publication of the best-selling book. Map after having lain dormant for nearly 33 years. So you know who's in charge of this story, right? There's the 33. They just mentioned Freemasonry. Right? So is any of this true? Is any of this true? Again, those are their signatures. 1 year before writing the Roswell incident, Moore had already become famous for his first book, The Philadelphia Experiment, published in 1979, which popularized the tale of supposed experiment with a Navy ship which was made to disappear using alien technology in 1943. Berlitz helped to co-author it. Bermuda Triangle was the first book. That's because there's a temple down there. Okay, so this guy, entrepreneur. Yeah, so he was a civilian, and he was equipped with his own radar detection devices. He began to use his equipment to capture signals from the military facilities in his neighborhood, with a special focus on what he believed was a secret UFO base in the mountains of northern New Mexico. Sedolce began to feed Ben with information that had been supposedly leaked from the government. So basically, he was feeding him false information. Yeah, later revealed to be forgeries in the Majestic. That's a weird story in and of itself, the Majestic 12. I was trying to find a special part for you guys, though. There we go. I was trained by the CIA and the DIA. During my DIA career, I investigated unidentified flying object sightings throughout the southwestern part of the U.S. We did conduct counterintelligence operations against people that were close to obtaining the truth about classified programs. Some might call the operations disinformation. Yeah, many people would call them that. Now I want you to see this part, and then I'm going to move to the end of this video. MK Ultra and UFOs. Earlier in our story, we were introduced to Sir Henry Tizard, the man responsible for reorganizing the U.S. military science systems in what became the Manhattan Project, also the same figure who initiated radar technology, cybernetics science, and flying saucer research. Cybernetics, we're going to talk about that too a little bit. Author Naomi Klein, blah, 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 played a leading role in the creation and funding of an operation that would come to be known as MK Ultra. Yeah, and Canada was highly involved with MK Ultra. One of the most controversial meetings he had attended in his capacity as chair of the National Research Commission would only emerge many years later with the declassification of CIA documents, namely a meeting on June 1st, 1951 at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Montreal, Canada, between Tizard and then Solant, the chairman of Defense Research and Development in Canada, and representatives of the CIA to discuss brainwashing. That's an offensive term to people, but it's very easy to do. It's happening to us every day online, especially depending on what algorithm you're in. Ask yourself why these TikTokers, why the react channels, the people who can't make their own content, why are they covering the same 3 clips over and over and over again? Repetition. What did I tell you I learned in marketing and advertising? Repetition. The quickest, swiftest, easiest, cheapest way to change somebody's mind is through repetition. You keep giving them the same thing over and over and over again, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, you just give them this. And eventually it sticks, and that is their new paradigm. That is their new jail cell in their mind. You don't believe me? The Ritz-Carlton meeting would lay the seeds for MKUltra, which was a CIA program that was not only designed to deal with brainwashing, but innovated new uses for LSD, psilocybin, and DMT, with the intention of breaking down a human mind into a blank slate in order to then reconstruct those broken minds from scratch. I believe they tried to do this to me. Why? I don't know. Probably because I was indispensable, disposable, and because I have a knack for knowing what might be coming if people don't repent. And I've known things that were coming since I was small, but I do not consent to that gift being exploited or used for the enemy or being used for profit or gain. I only use it to help people, and I only use what God tells me to give you. I don't try to get lottery numbers. I don't ask for winning lottery tickets. I don't do that type of thing, because if I did and I was dishonest in that way, it would be taken away again. Because when my mom gave me a Ouija board for the first time when I was like 12, after whatever it was happened, after the cup freaked out and broke, my gift went away for a while. Like I couldn't access, or maybe I just stopped listening to God. I don't know. But it's like, he knew that I was in the wrong things, so he didn't. And I believe Ouija boards too. Like, my mom knew this. She knew that I was gifted. She had tested me and did all this stuff. I didn't know as a kid that's what was happening. Look at the Gateway program. It's all that same stuff. Anyways, God will take that away. Like, if you're not on the straight and narrow and you're not being honest and doing the things you're supposed to be doing. And I've seen this on a clip now, a Christmas clip from Joe Rogan. I've been saying this for years, and my family and everybody, people I loved, have done nothing but call me crazy and insane. Say, I can hear your thoughts. Now, I don't know why, but I can. Not all the time, sometimes, right? I know that if we don't repent, there's going to be this great earthquake that I had this dream about. I knew the floods were coming. But it's not just me, right? It's you and tons of other people who have been talking about this, and not for monetization. And we're on smaller channels and platforms because God does not raise people up in the beast system. It's not going to happen. If someone's saying they're a Christian and they're being lifted up monetarily, and YouTube turned into everything that we did not want it to be, we need to take that back too and turn it back to everyday people talking in their living rooms, because we know that we have no reason to lie to each other. Now all the celebrities came here. Now they've inducted all of these YouTubers. Go back 5-6 years to 2017. Look at all your favorite YouTubers who took milk baths, who did the ice bucket challenge. That's them being baptized into the beast system. I don't care who it is. I don't care. You're not a Christian banking. You're not a true Christian. You don't know what it means. You just don't. Are you suffering? Have you suffered? Have you suffered persecution at all through any of this? If you are being raised up, especially in this time, and you're being raised up through the beast system, monetarily, financially, you need to ask yourself why. And I'm just being real here. So we know this has been going on for a long time. MKUltra first came to the public light during the 1975 Church Committee hearings, which demonstrated that the CIA, in conjunction, here we go again, 5G, five guys, it just won't leave my life, in conjunction with other Five Eyes intelligence agencies. Five Eyes, what is that? Hold. I can't. I got to see what that means. I'm sorry. Yeah, Elon has made minions of our children, and he did it through gaming. How much you want to bet? That's how we were all spied on. That's how most people have been paid off and bought off, is their children learned their secrets of their social media apps, and they are allowed to do whatever they want now at this point. It's the younger generation, but the antichrist spirit is in people like Musk and Trump. And again, Trump isn't even Trump anymore. I don't think he's, I have a hard time using his name because they're just using his name and his image. That's not him. And you can see it. There's nothing there. He used to be vibrant. There's like nothing. Either he's a political prisoner or he's a droid. Like it's not even human. All right, what was I looking up? 5 eyes. Oh, wow, they already. What does this mean? Oh my gosh. I've never heard of this, you guys. 5 eyes is an intelligence alliance comprising the following countries: Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and the US. They cooperate in intelligence matters and share top secret information. Hold. This is wild, you guys. What I mean, how we come into other things, and I'm not trying to get off topic. This is all connected. It's how you are interpreting and discerning media headlines at this time. You need to really be grounded in truth. You need to be discerning of eyes. And if you have that much time to sit and watch videos, pause them. Pause them consistently. See if the flames are still there. Make sure it's not AI creatures or whatever. There are ways that you can disseminate those videos and break it down and discover if they're real or not. But the whole point now is that we are being groomed and made malleable like dough, right? But when it's time to go in the oven, everybody's going to be surprised talking about, I didn't see this coming. Well, a whole lot of us tried to tell you what was coming. Mother Mary gave me that dream. A lot of us have tried. Okay, so check this. It says, what is the Five Eyes Alliance? FVEY. Its genesis lies in the post-war 1946 UK-USA agreement intended as a cooperative arrangement for sharing signals intelligence, SIGINT. Over time, this partnership has extended its reach, becoming an integral part of global intelligence and security operations. Well, the UK already has CCTV everywhere, and they've already done it to America. They just didn't tell us. That's what they're softly disclosing now. That's what you should be asking, is where are all these videos coming from? How are they able to see this? Where is this being shot at? You don't notice like that these videos are surveillance video cameras? That's what you should be asking, is when did all these get put in? How long have we been under surveillance publicly? 5, 9, and 14 Eyes Alliance. Beyond the core 5 Eyes, there are also extended alliances known as 9 Eyes and 14 Eyes. The 9 Eyes Alliance includes the original 5 Eyes, along with Denmark, France, Netherlands, and Norway. The 14 Eyes further extends this group, including Germany, Belgium, Italy, Spain, and Sweden. And what did we say? The book of Daniel says 10 kingdoms? In essence, this intelligence network is a double-edged sword. It represents a compelling power to uphold national security and tackle global threats. Oh, boy. Which undeniably contributes to public safety. Power doesn't come without a price. Our privacy. Edward Snowden's 2013 revelations peeled back the curtain, which nobody even paid attention to. If you're doing nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide. This argument is often used to justify surveillance practices, suggesting that those leading law-abiding lives shouldn't be concerned. However, this standpoint is simplistic and overlooks a key facet of privacy. It isn't solely about hiding wrongdoing. It's about the right to control personal information and the right to control my body. I don't want y'all seeing me naked. Like, nobody sees me naked but me and the Lord. Like, that's it. Seriously. I don't want people seeing the look that I give my child right before I hug him, or when I know he's suffering. So I try to give him a few words of comfort. That's not for public consumption. That is for him. You have no idea what it's like to realize this stuff, and They say you shouldn't freak out when you first are awakened, but if you don't know, you don't know, right? And I just didn't know. And when some of this stuff hit me, I didn't know what to do with it. So I've been trying to softly disclose it to you guys, but there's no time. Like it's all out in the open. You need to be okay with like everything of yours that was secret being known, right? You need to understand that those who have changed or are acting different, they've probably been blackmailed into conforming to this new world, this new government that is coming into effect. How to avoid the Five Eyes Alliance. Embrace a VPN, harness the power of encryption, go incognito with browsers, tread carefully on social media, and lock up your devices. Wow, that's all the advice you have for us? How about we do not consent? Right? How about we don't consent? All right, so what else did I have to show you? Oh, let's go back here because I want to show you this. The CIA violated its charter for 25 years until revelations of illegal wiretapping, domestic surveillance, assassination plots, and human experimentation led to official investigations and reforms in the 70s. As Klein's book eloquently showcases, the intention behind MKUltra experiments was to use these discoveries on a broad scale in order to conduct shock therapy on entire nations in order to break and target people from their historic memories and traditions, God forbid, with the purpose of reconstructing them under a post-nation state and post-truth neoliberal world order. So in a nutshell, folks, that is what America is going through, and some of the other world is going through right now. We are being groomed, and they are attempting to re-educate us while we're in our homes, and we're paying for it. Why would they put you in a camp when they can do it right in your own home with the screen in front of you? If the definition of MKUltra, and pay attention please, if the definition of MKUltra is flashing lights and flashing images being projected to a person who is sitting in a chair and made to sit there, that is the definition of your living room. Hello? All you need is a television or a computer and some snacks and something to encourage the person to get in front of the screen, like, I don't know, UFOs. I'm not seeing them here. Let me see what's going on in New Jersey. I can't see it here, but I'll check there. And then you're watching for 2, 3, 4 days straight, and you've got all this new stuff in there. You don't even realize they've kind of changed who you are. They've molded you like a piece of dough. And I'm sorry, but this type of behavior is triggering for me, but in a very, it feels like a righteous way because it gets me just really, I don't even know how to explain it. I don't want to say worked up because that's kind of wrong. I get the tingles all over my body, and I just get like, I need to speak against this. Like, I have to. I don't have a choice. So shock therapy goes global. The organization which carried out the planning and execution of this new form of welfare was launched by CIA's Frank Wisner and Alan Dulles. Warfare Unit of the Office of Policy Coordination, OPC, created in 1948, which soon became known as the Covert Operations Wing of the CIA. Hold, please. Isn't it interesting? Okay, so again, let's swing back to 1947, 1946. Isn't it interesting that this same time when the United States, for whatever reason, how we're so special, they keep saying we're not in the Bible. I'm pretty sure we are in there. We were just renamed. There's a clue for you. But we gave Israel land and made them a nation again. And everything they do, we do. And everything we do, they do. And they're trying to come up for excuses for all the stuff in the sky while there's allegedly a war happening between Israel and Gaza. What if I took a camera and I took pictures of what was happening in Jersey, but instead of framing that as UFOs, I said that we were having warfare between us and a group of terrorists? Would you believe me? So let's try it again. If I wanted to act out a war, and I wanted to say it was in this place, but it's not actually in that place. If the United States is actually Israel, let's just go there. What if? If America is actually the original Israel land, and that's why we're so connected, and that's why we do what they do, and they do what we do, and the stuff on TV is just for TV. And the reason we can't go into the Grand Canyon is because that's where you'll see the Wailing Wall of Jerusalem. And I'm using the butterfly effect again right now. I don't get any money for any of this. I struggle usually when I need things. I rent my tennis shoes, I pay them off. But this butterfly effect that we started on the original Berean Chen channel, they're talking about all this stuff finally about the aliens being in the ocean, and nobody's laughing at these people because they have big platforms. I got laughed at for years. Called a laughing stock by somebody I loved and respected more than God, somebody that I idolized in the place of God for a long time. And now it's all coming out. So let's use that butterfly effect one more time. What if America is Israel? But they don't want you to know that. And America, the Israel part of America, is at war. So you have to have a cover-up for why these things are being seen in the American airspace. Because we're taking images of it and putting it on the TV, telling you that this is a war somewhere far away in the Middle East. But what if America is the original Israel? And what if the war is happening here on our coast? Then they'd have to switch the camera lens and reframe it and say, this is UFOs. We don't know what this is. Makes sense? Yeah. Do you understand what I'm trying to say there? What if what they're telling us is UFOs is the war in Gaza, is the same clips, the same camera angles, the same footage that they're using for this alleged war in Gaza? And how come I can still order stuff from Ukraine all day long and it'll get to me quicker than stuff a few states away? And I had never heard of Ukraine until, to be honest, I thought it was another older country that they renamed because I'd never heard of it until Russia things started. Because they rename things all the time, right? So what if America's government is not telling you what is happening in the skies because it's due to national security, because that strip there isn't actually New Jersey, it's what they call Syria in the news. What if America is the original Israel? What if the Wailing Wall is in the Grand Canyon, and that's why you're not allowed to go in there, because then you'll see that it opens up, and that's their little Israel where they have the Wailing Wall hidden. Because look at that's why I'm showing you the capabilities. They were willing in 1948 to come against the American people and to use UFOs, whether they were man-made or not. They were going to not waste a crisis, right? And they will use it against us. And in fact, that's why the CIA was created, was to come against the American people and pull PSYOPs against us themselves. Everything that happens to MK Ultra victims has happened to me. It all happened to me in 2018. The abuse, all of it. The drugs fed to me, all of it. I'm still here, and it is only at the grace of God. I wanted to show you the lengths that these people are willing to go to. The newly formed CIA wasted no time working with Five Eyes to overthrow governments that were not inclined to adapt to the type of world empire designed by the oligarchy. And a string of popular governments from Greece to Egypt, Iran, Korea, Vietnam, and the Dominican Republic were soon targeted for regime change under the rubric of Dull's machine. And they did it. They destabilized all these places in the name of democracy, because everybody else wants it too, don't you know? You're just silly if you don't want democracy. Recently, declassified CIA reports have demonstrated, and this is what I'm going to end with, just hang on. For the CIA-run coup in Guatemala was the possible use of a big human interest story like flying saucers to distract Guatemalans from the U.S. military of their government. Let's read that again, folks. I really hope people watch this video. Recently declassified CIA reports have demonstrated that among the various scenarios for the CIA-run coup in Guatemala was the possible use of a big human interest story like flying saucers to distract Guatemalans from the U.S. military's overthrow of their government. So we've done this before. This is to distract us from what is happening. Everything, the Diddy stories, right? The fall of these celebrities, all of it was to distract you from them dismantling our government. This is why people's court cases are being so far delayed. This is why some of them are ending with decisions that don't make any sense to us that know the laws, because we don't have a government. We don't have one, which is why it's harder to get surgery too, I'd imagine, with people higher on that list of like people who are assets, right? People that, like 2012, the movie, people that you would hide because they're valuable to a new society. Like those people are gone. And again, I don't know if they're waiting for what's coming Earthwise or if they're just chilling in another area, but they're not in America anymore. Everyone who was anyone has already left. Funny how some of our men of God knew when it was time to leave too. Some of them Protestants in the Black Eye Club. And I saw a smaller YouTuber, I couldn't figure out the reason for the black eye, but now they're saying that they insert a fake eye in there with a camera. And that's what that means, is like they're always watching you with the camera, which would explain why some of my relatives get like really close when I start crying and they just stare at me. It's weird, dude. It happened again the other day. I don't understand it. Again, we've been taken over by aliens, people behaving like aliens. I call them fallen angels. I don't care what you call them. They're using things like demon syndrome as cover-up. They are going to use some of this as cover-up. They're going to tell you it's Elon. They're going to tell you it's the government when it is in fact God. Okay? And when it's a good thing that happens, they're going to take credit. Recently, declassified CIA reports demonstrated that among various scenarios for the CIA-run coup in Guatemala was the possible use of a big human interest story to distract them from the overthrow of their government. So they've already done this. And this tells you, in 1954, while the CIA was engineering a banana coup, Guatemalan's government announced it had learned of the plot. Coup headquarters in Florida sent a telegram to CIA station in Guatemala with advice on suppressing the info. One strategy was to seed flying saucer stories in the press. This is why they're doing all these Diddy stories. Diddy doesn't matter. They want the airways flooded with that because it doesn't matter, to hide any truth other people like me might be speaking. They don't want you to know the truth. The Diddy story is a distraction. It's not justice happening. It's a distraction. Again, why are we caring about these celebrities? He's not in your life. He's not in my life. I pray for any victims that were his victims, if he's even a real person. We've got to stop being distracted. We're easily distracted. We have to stop. So I want you to check out this one last part. Lansdale's Vampires and the Voice of God. I'm sorry, my ear is still bothering me a lot and I can't hear well. Lansdale was one of the greatest spies in history. His accomplishments were the stuff of legend. Edward Lansdale had worked for the OSS in the Philippines during World War II and returned to the post under the banner of the CIA in the early 50s. Why is this called Lansdale's Vampire and the Voice of God? Well, let's check this out. Lansdale turned the Filipino Civil Affairs Office into a base for psychological warfare operations and got straight to work profiling the Filipino cultural dynamics in order to find folk tales that could be used against them. Stronghold. This is an example of the government, CIA, ABC alphabet gangs using your own beliefs against you. That's why they're okay with calling these crafts fallen angels, because if they can manipulate you with that semantic, they don't care about semantics. They don't care the word you use. They want to manipulate you. So if you believe it's fallen angels, well, then that's what they're going to call them. There's a reason all these mainstream people suddenly are agreeing with biblical scholars. And I don't think it's not a good reason. Okay? It's not a good reason. Soon, the deceased guerrillas and civilians were found hanging. So they made it look like vampires. Upon finding them, the insurgents scattered in fear, believing the folktale that the vampires were real. The hundreds of cases of cattle mutilation across America's Midwest, which they're still telling you is from aliens, which began in 73, featuring cows dissected and drained of you know what, might be better understood as an American variant of the Lansdale psychological warfare operations in the Philippines. Lansdale's talents were again put to work. So basically, he's making it look like vampires are real in the way that he is dismantling people, if that makes sense. I'm trying not to use graphic wording for obvious reasons. And this is the part that I want you to pay attention to, because this is how your own beliefs could be used against you. So not only did he make it look like his dispatching of people was done by a supernatural being, he went further. Check this out. Lansdale's talents were again put to work as an advisor to the French military in Vietnam, fighting to keep hold of their colony. Lansdale equipped planes with speakers to fly across the jungles on cloudy days, projecting an audio recording. So basically, on cloudy days when it's overcast above, like we're seeing now with fog and mist and all this stuff, he would have regular old planes fly, projecting an audio recording known as The Wailing Soul, featuring conversations between a little girl and the wandering soul of her dead father, who had been killed while fighting Americans. Vietnamese funeral music completed the effect. When the USA replaced France in subduing Vietnam, Lansdale set up the Army's 6th Psychological Warfare Operation Battalion, continuing to use his illusionist tricks and exploitation of Vietnamese folklore for U.S. geopolitical effects. So basically, they started using their own belief systems against them and started manufacturing supernatural evidence. We need to be very careful going any further with what is happening in our world right now. Just because something is on video doesn't mean it happened. Remember, you know how the kids now, they say, video or it didn't happen, pictures or it didn't happen. Yeah, pictures can be faked. Videos can be faked. This is why God laid out in his book, let there be 2 witnesses to establish a fact. Sorry, if there's just one person, that could be you making up something. If we're going to establish something as fact in a court or a council, it needs to be 2. I'm going to read this and then I'm going to be done. Please hang out. I'm almost done. In 1961, Lansdale was again put to work by Alan Dulles in crafting scenarios that could be used to topple the new regime of Fidel Castro. Among the top of his offerings included a project dubbed Elimination by Illumination. I don't know if I can read this. Like, I'm so flabbergasted. I don't even have a word anymore. Are you reading this with me? Do you see? Is anyone here? Please give the video a thumbs up if you appreciate the information. This is a lot of information that other people aren't talking about. You need to know what is going on with your media and what has been going on for many years. We are just too young to remember. We didn't know. We were not here yet. And they're banking on that fact. This is why it all started at the old folks' home. This is why the elderly were first to be ended, purged, whatever words you want to use. Among the top of his offerings included a project of elimination by illumination. What did I just say in yesterday's video about if I was malevolent and I wanted to get rid of a bunch of people or a species? Right? Like all the movies, you see everybody greeting the aliens. Oh, yay, yay. Oh, let's meet in New York Square, Times Square. It'll be like New Year's. So you get a bunch of people there and you have this big mothership there. It's a real good way to get rid of a lot of people at one time. I think they did something like that in Belarus. I have no proof of that because I don't have RT anymore. Other people have it. For some reason, I don't have it. Elimination by illumination called for the projection of high-intensity lights across the skies of Cuba, conveying the second coming of Jesus Christ. With the superstitious Cubans sufficiently polarized, a message from Christ would be broadcast demanding Castro's overthrow. The parallels to modern sightings of Christ appearing in the skies of Brazil, or cities from other dimensions appearing in the skies above China, not to mention thousands of other mysterious light shows around the world using advanced holographic technologies, should not be treated as disconnected from the Psy-War scenario promoted by Lansdale over 60 years ago. Do you understand what all that means? And Brazil, like, they have a huge statue to Christ, and there have been so many sightings of Mother Mary. Usually she wants good though. She's against like communism and telling people to repent and stop ending babies. Like, there's nothing, I don't think that's political really. That's my opinion for now. I don't know. During the planning stages of Castro's ending, they had a program to get rid of these heads of state called Executive Action. They had organized teams of sharp, you know what, to end a new Cuban president, although the scheme was to carry out the ending of Kennedy using 3 teams. It was exposed in 1973 in a film aptly titled Executive Action, which was banned from all U.S. theaters. And it was only made public in 1989. Burt Lancaster, Robert Ryan, Will Geer. Executive Action. MK Ultra's leading scientist Sidney Gottlieb was even commissioned by Dulles to generate a plan to spike Castro's cigars with psychedelics. I remember that. And a bill to film him going insane on national TV. This, too, did not find approval with the Kennedy administration. I am still looking for what I mentioned earlier, but Kennedy, the reason they ended him was because he was against using PSYOPS against the American people. He did not want that to happen with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Now, they tell you it's because of the negotiations. That's not what it was. It was specifically about using PSYOPS on American soil against American people. That's what Kennedy was against. That's why they got rid of him. Now people are talking, and I heard another YouTuber, one of these reactors again, say yesterday, what if he did come back? Would you still think him such a hero then if he faked his own death? I'm telling you, man, they've got all these people on here on YouTube. They want to know your comments for a reason. I've told you all of this, but keep feeding them. By all means, keep feeding that animal, that beast. Okay, so here we have Lockheed Martin mentioned as well. Wow. Okay. Oh, sorry. Didn't realize I was up there with the mouse. Here we go. Let's see. President Kennedy breaks the rules. When President Kennedy discovered the scope of the CIA's renegade operations, see, I haven't read this yet. I didn't know they were going to get into this. I hope they tell you the whole thing. President Kennedy also moved against the CIA's program to enmesh the United States and Vietnam while turning the U.S. into an imperial tool of regime change. On October 11, 1963, Kennedy passed National Security Action Memorandum 263 to begin a phased withdrawal of U.S. troops from the new war in Vietnam, which Dulles CIA had prepared for years. It was during this time that the president stated that he would splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds. And see, people's nostalgia for Kennedy is why they're for the other Kennedy right now, but he's actually speaking against some things that, again, you've got to really dig in. You can't listen to these media hit pieces. You got to read. People, you got to learn to read, man. Again, like, we know how to read, just read. On September 20th, 1963, President Kennedy delivered a groundbreaking speech to the United Nations calling for an end to the Cold War age of mutually assured destruction by introducing a new paradigm of cooperation between Russians and Americans. Kennedy understood that unless a positive mission based on creative discoveries and win-win cooperation could be accepted by the Russians, then it were only a matter of time. Unfortunately, only 4 weeks after this, after his offer for a U.S.-Russia space cooperation and 3 weeks after calling for an end to the war, he was murdered. He was assassinated. With Kennedy's ending following his brother's ending, only 5 years later, the deep state takeover of the USA proceeded much more aggressively. The Trilateral Commission you have next, but again, this was because he did not want them running the PSYOPs for the Cuban Missile Crisis. I don't know how long that is. I don't want to play the whole thing, but I'll try to include it for you guys. All right, so is that everything I wanted to show you? Almost. The deaf, dumb, and blind spirit, how do you get rid of it? How do you be able to discern the headlines that you're looking at and run through them on your own and know exactly what's being said and not have to have somebody else point them out to you? Clean your temple. You've got to clean your temple. You've got to take time in silence and prayer. You're in prayer, you're talking to the one who made you. In meditation, you're listening for the answers that you request while in prayer. You need to take 15 minutes at least at the beginning of each day, at the end of each day. You need to stop eating animals that are ended in a certain way. If you're going to partake and consume them, then it needs to be probably according to old dietary laws. Not because I think it will harm your salvation, but because I think it harms our temples, especially now when I don't think what we're getting is actually animal beef. That's not what we are. That's not what they're feeding us. Remember, we're the peasants. What would you give the peasants? If you're going to eat meat, know where it's sourced from, know how it's ended. There are certain rules we're not supposed to follow for a reason, because spirits and demons can get into animals, much like we saw Christ do with the pigs. Now, I'd like to give you some encouragement. This video has been crazy long. I apologize for that. I probably won't make another one unless it's an upload about my high strangeness, which of course still continues, where I talk about how this antichrist spirit harasses me through other people. And it really is like Legion. Like they're all hooked up to the same brain. And all I can really do is pray for people and share bits of the gospel. But I don't tell them it's scripture. I just speak it. Sometimes they'll say, oh, well, that's really good advice. And I'll say, it's in the Bible, part of the gospel, whatever. But if you're feeding them verses and you're saying this is from here and this is from then, you're going to confuse. Like I, for a long time, was so put off because I didn't know, like, what does the book mean? What does the verse mean? How do I know what page to go to? Like, it just was confusing to me in my organized brain. So that put me off. So we got to be really careful how we share with each other. But I wanted to share this with you today. I don't think it's as pretty. I might do a separate video on this. I don't think it's as eloquent as the older Bible that I have. But I want you, if you are feeling weary and weak and you're having a hard time and you don't know which way to go, you're not sure what's happening, maybe you're involved in the flooding or some type of wildfire that's happening, maybe you're like me and you're isolated, secluded, and you're just dealing with a lot of spiritual warfare and you're at your wit's end. I heard a testimony of a lovely young lady the other day, and I wanted to just read this psalm with you guys, because if you're tired of fighting, well, then send the Lord in to do your battling for you, okay? So this is Psalm 53, and in some books it's known as Psalm 52, because the psalm numbers are different in the older Bible. Unto the end, in verses, the understanding of David, when the Ziphites had arrived, and they said to Saul, has not David been hidden with us? Save me, O God, by your name, and judge me in your virtue. O God, listen to my prayer and pay attention to the words of my mouth. For strangers have risen up against me, and the strong have sought my soul. And they have not set God before their eyes. For behold, God is my helper, and the Lord is the protector of my soul. Turn back the evils upon my adversaries, and ruin them by your truth. I will freely sacrifice to you, and I will confess your name, O God, because it is good. For you have quickly rescued me from all tribulation, and from my eye has looked down upon my enemies. One more thing. I'm just quickly going to grab my older Bible so I can read. It's more eloquent and it's prettier and it's more encouraging, I think. So I'm going to grab that. If you want to hear it, hang out for it. I'll be right back. I am almost done, you guys. You've been so good. Mama's just going to grab this and read it. And then we're done for a while. And I can show you guys, for anyone who... I have, of course, like KJV with the Apocrypha. I have like a 1920 version of a KJV, a little pocket one. I'm afraid to even touch it, really. And this is one I got at the local consignment store. It's the kind that like my family had when I was a child. I think it's from 1962, but it's beautiful because there's a lot of art in it. there's stuff missing in it, and explains all of the sacraments. See, like there's the Tower of Babel. There goes all my bookmarks. Sorry, Sammy. Anyways, it's very pretty, and I like it. And so I'm going to read to you the psalm, if I can find it. Oh gosh, did I just lose the page? Please tell me I did not. There we go. Okay, so we're going to read Psalm, if and I can find it. There. This same song, it's the same psalm, but it's from an actual physical Bible. And I actually do have a physical magazine about LBJ taking over when Kennedy was ended, and it talks about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it actually shows the car. So I should probably get that out and do a video of just that. But this is Psalm 53, and in some it's Psalm 54. And I like it because you might want to know where I get some things from. And we have notes right down in here, which the church fathers, from way back, what they said about these lessons and whatnot. So this is Psalm 53, sometimes known as Psalm 54. And it says as a heading, it says confident prayer in great peril. So if you're feeling down and low and you're tired and you're weary and you just feel like you can't spiritually battle anymore, this is for the leader. It says 1, for the leader with the stringed instruments, a maskil of David. So Psalms are really songs, and David was a songwriter. And so most of these Psalms are supposed to be set to music. They're songs, S-O-N-G-S. PSYOPS equals S-O-N-G-S and equals S-P-E-L-L-S. They're all the same thing. Intention is what's different. Confident prayer in great peril. So it says, when the Zephites went and said to Saul, David is hiding among us. So that gives you the background. It doesn't tell you that on the one here on the screen. It doesn't tell you like that these first 2 verses aren't actually part of the psalm. It's almost like a screenplay. That's like the little part that you don't say out loud, I guess. So it says, oh God, by your name save me, and by your might defend my cause. God will fight for you. Say this out loud. Say it with your words, with your voice, with your heart to your maker. Trust me when I tell you that when you speak out these psalms, they have power. I've seen it in action. I told you I have. Oh God, by your name, save me, and by your might defend my cause. Oh God, hear my prayer, hearken to the words of my mouth. For haughty men have risen up against me, and fierce men seek my life. They set not God before their eyes. 2, behold, God is my helper, the Lord sustains my life. Turn back the evil upon my foes, and your faithfulness destroy them. Freely will I offer you sacrifice. I will praise your name, O Lord, for its goodness, because from all distress you have rescued me, and my eyes look down upon my enemies. That little verse right there. Section 2, verse 7. Is it on this one like that? Let me check. Hold, please. This is the last bit, and I'll say goodbye. Right there. I want you guys to look at that and understand what that means. Have you ever seen those videos who talk about boomerang prayers? Going to people like that, that's a little too much like the occult and like witchcraft to me. But you can use the Bible in the way it's meant to be used. Can you just get out of here? Hide the menu. I just want to see it. Never mind. Verse 7, it says, turn back the evils upon my adversaries and ruin them by your truth. And the actual written one, it says, turn back their own evils upon them, like a boomerang prayer. Whatever they try to do to you is going to go back on them. If you're feeling weak and alone, say Psalm 53 out loud with power in your home. God will fight for you. But I wanted to show you how all of these different things are coinciding and working together to gain your attention, to get you to think in a certain way so that you're more malleable and so that you conform to whatever it is they want us to conform to. And I'm not saying anti-conformity is should be the practice just to non-conform, just for the sake of nonconformity, just like persecution, just for the sake of persecution. Like if you go to a place trying to get persecuted, knowing you're going to get persecuted, no offense, but that doesn't really count as being persecuted for Christ, because you went with the intention of being persecuted, right? The intention should always be the love, the passion for, it shouldn't be, you see what I'm saying there? Please start to pay attention to what is being done. Do not allow yourself to be deceived. There is a God. There are angels. But if the government's telling you a certain thing, and again, nonconformity just for the sake of nonconformity is not okay. Persecution just for the sake of persecution is not okay either. It's not really persecution. What we should be holding up as our standard is the law of God. Does this law of man go against what God wants for us in our lives? If it does, it should be easy peasy. If it goes against God, then we can't do it. If it goes against what God has for us, then we can't do it, especially if we want our inheritance. Please pay attention to these things. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the internet going down from these cables in the ocean. And I believe the area to watch for that is in Mariana Trench. I have claimed that since the day one, since 2018, when I started having these dreams and visions. I knew that they were hidden in places like the Great Lakes and off of our coasts. And men are working with these other intelligences. I don't even know how to say it. All right, I'm going to run. This has been way too long, but I hope everybody found some bits in here that were good. And I wanted to show that this new Trump is not the same as the old Trump. And the things he says he's against, is that really what he's proven with the people he is associating with and the people he has around him? Pay attention. It's going to start to get a lot harder to tell the truth from the lies and the good from the bad. I'm going to end this part now so I can tool around with my thing and nobody can crack on me. And I'm going to leave you. I want you to see. Where is it? Here we go. I'm going to include these links for you guys so you can go across and look at some of these things yourself and see what they are and what they mean and all that stuff, because it is a lot. But you need to be prepared for what our government is sadly doing to us. You guys have a blessed day. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Got to take my dogs out. And I've got to go potty now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for looking at my pale, sickly face while I try to get through this winter stuff. But you guys have a blessed day. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll talk again soon. Watch for a regular upload because I had a couple of things that are quick that I might just put onto an upload. Have a blessed day, guys.